you believe that we started recording right in the middle of 2020 with all of the COVID and lockdowns going on around us, unable to meet up? So like many a young gentleman, we turned to the internet for our entertainment. Tried to find a place where we could meet up and talk about the good, the bad, and that time that Stu saw a pelican on the canal. In order to facilitate our dreams of answering all of the big questions in film, and after a few attempts at recording via other methods to various levels of success, we found Zencastr, a super easy web-based one-stop shop for recording. Log in and you're ready to record in a matter of seconds. It doesn't take a tech genius to get high quality audio or video. And on top of that, the one time we have had an issue, the fact that the multi-layered backups are stored locally means it's easily fixed all in browser. There are plenty of tools you need when you start podcasting, so let Zencastr take that headache away as it offers a place to record, edit and distribute all from one website. Any lazy bones Jones can pick up and play and have studio quality audio or 4K video put out for the world to see when using Zencastr. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code CAGEFIGHTING and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same easy experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. And now, hit the music.
Nicolas Cage is probably one of our generation's definitive actors.
Would you buy any Pokemon cards?
No, because I've got to, like most things, I need to research it first, because what I've learned is I want the original 151, right? But what I've learned is they released a pack type called the 150, like Scarlet 151, and it is just the 151, but it's not, they all look different than the ones that came out originally that you can still get. And I don't like them. I want them to be those ones.
The original.
For nicotine.
I imagine that's where the money is, though, isn't it?
And they don't have to be the ones from like 1997 or 6 or whatever they were, but they can be like 2013 editions for all I care. But I just want them to be those ones. So basically, I said my mum up the loft. I said, go up the loft, find out if there's any. I'll wait for her to get back to me. It's bad to me because she kept absolutely everything. Like a proper hoarder's loft.
So. Oh yeah, I've got my school reports from like primary school.
God, which she kept. Can we have a Patreon bonus episode reading out those?
Oh yeah, we can do it. I'll do it.
I mean, I think I've got some of my performing arts, fucking, where you have to like critique other people's performances. I've got some of those knocking around, and my record of achievements and all that shit.
Oh yeah, record of achievement.
I had a poem published in a book. That's at my mum's as well. And yeah, it's really super stupid. Like, I don't know why, like, someone of 10 years old would write a poem that was called like "The Man in the Boat." Like it's like something It's like something Morrissey would write. Honestly,
yeah,
it's dead miserable about this. It's about like a shipwreck. I think must have been into pirates or something at the time.
Whereas mine was about sunshine. It's like, oh, it's really changed. And again, they've published that book as well.
Can you imagine if we were in the same book, Stu? That would be incredible.
I mean,
you'd have had to have been about 17 though when I wrote mine. 17. I was
going to say, it wasn't just a Dainsmore book. It was a Wolverhampton Primary School's poet laureate search.
Oh, fine. I'll read my poem, Stu, if you'll read your school reports.
Yeah.
We'll hear about how Andy was into the arts.
I could tell you about the time I performed a sex education lesson in front of the MPs in the Houses of Commons.
No.
Yeah, that was a day.
Okay. When we start this podcast, it's a MusiCast, but before we get on to that, were you two at schools that were posh enough to have sex education using actual condoms?
Yeah, they used. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah.
See, because I went to a Catholic school, there was like zero sex education other than one lesson, which was basically name as many sexual words as you can to kind of destroy the power that those words held. That was literally it. So it would just be people shouting, "Fanny, cock," and shit like that. That was literally
Shouted that at a priest.
No, is that the teacher? Miss
Are they not priests in Catholic schools?
No. This isn't like a monastery.
It's not a nunnery. I don't fucking know. I assume they might double up.
No.
Take confession.
Sadly not.
But to hear about your sordid details and other words for cunt.
Now, funny story with Miss Canavan. Saw her at like a school reunion thing years later. She went in for a hug, I went in for a handshake, and the rest is history.
Nice.
Yeah.
Squeezy to start the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We had Nurse Heap, and she very much did put a condom on a cucumber in front of the whole class. That was it was an enjoyable day. Then all the girls come back traumatised as well. We were just all pissing about. It was great afternoon.
Imagine though they set that expectation that like cocks were that big. That's what that must have been.
Same.
Then you with your pickled gherkin. Oh well, welcome to MusiCast, everybody. Matt Guy here, like a Gonzalo Guedes cameo, to bring you this podcast this evening, morning, or afternoon.
Can we not mention that bloke's name ever again? Like, you know, someone put a thing on, "Will you welcome him back?" And just seeing him there, just seeing his name featured made my blood boil. I don't hate anyone, really. I dislike quite a few. But that bloke, if he burnt in a pit of fire, I would not be bothered. I hate him to my core. And even if he comes back and I was like, "Are you going to cheer him?" I'll cheer a goal, but I ain't singing his name. The cunt can piss off. Oh, hello, everyone. No one even knows who this bloke is. But
well, I was going to ask Andy. Welcome, Andy. Can you describe in film terms, Geddes? Like, can you think who that might be, or a storyline or something that possibly describes what she was referring to?
Gosh,
Weinstein.
it's a difficult. It is a difficult one because it would be a film that a lot of people seemed to enjoy, and then once it came over to the UK, everybody seemed to absolutely despise it.
Isn't that Morbius?
yeah, it does feel like it. For the record, I don't hate him. I don't really see any issue with him, but I will save that for the Fancast episode, I suppose.
Yeah, you can describe where he touched you on the doll, Stu. Clearly. But this is a MusiCast episode, so of course we're going over the musical questions that need answering in the world. So I don't want to kind of date this podcast too much, but there is a slight bit of music news to discuss. Well, more just things that are kind of going on in the world, really. First and foremost, let's talk about Bruce Springsteen. So the boss is officially a billionaire. I know some people that are massively into Bruce Springsteen, and I know other people that probably couldn't tell you a single song that he's done, and he's completely alien to them. Stu, what are your thoughts on the boss? Is he in there for you as someone that, you know, you'd like to see? Is he someone that's music you enjoy? What's your feeling on Springsteen?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do it at least once. But it's got an up and down relationship with me and the boss, because sometimes I've had periods of time where I've got proper into it, and that's all I've listened to. And then others, I'll listen to the obvious ones. I mean, we had a whole summer of Dancing in the Dark being sung to Phil Foden. So for the last month and a half, which is terrible. And I've seen already it's been shared on AFL Twitter accounts where even like Gillingham have got their own version of it. So we're going to have one as well. And it's all going to be a nonsense. But that's not going to take my thoughts on the boss. I love Bruce Springsteen. I thought he's great. Politics aside, doesn't really matter. I don't care about all that stuff. As an artist, yeah, love the bloke.
Andy, from you, obviously, he's known for his ridiculously energetic and stamina-laden stage shows, and extensive back catalogue and a great kind of overall performer as well as an artist. But what did it mean to you, Springsteen?
I do like Bruce Springsteen. I am a fan of his. I feel like in some quarters he gets a bit of a bad rap of being this rah-rah pro-America because of Born in the USA, but that's never really been who he is. Whilst Born in the USA was adopted by, I think it was Ronald Reagan's, when he was running, it was a almost anti-American song. It was anti-Vietnam, it was anti-America getting involved in shit they shouldn't be. And I think that there is that side to him. I think you can see that he's a disciple of Bob Dylan's style of music writing. I think if you listen to stuff like Nebraska, he does have this soulful side to him where he tries to write these almost protest songs, I think, as well as these absolute toe tappers, like Stu said earlier. The Fire's an absolute belter of a song, and he has got some of the really good tracks. I was lucky enough to see him, I think he probably about 2006, 2007, something like that. But it wasn't the big guitars version of Bruce, it was the Sega's session. And it was more of like a hoedown almost, back to his countrified roots. And it was a really good, fun show. But I would really like to see him do the big guitars before he calls it a day.
Isn't it mad, like, sidebar from what you're saying there, that Bob Dylan's playing the Civic?
Yeah, I know.
Unbelievably as well. Crazy, yeah. I do like that he'd say no mobile phone night as well. You've got to put your shit in the police.
That? Oh, is that what it is? Like you put stuff away at the door kind of thing?
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where they put it around the neck and it's got like either a timer or, some kind of lock on it so you can't get access to your phone.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I was like, what cool that is. I mean, so, at his age, maybe he just wants to play more intimate things and stuff like that. But I just thought to myself, wow, like when my friend Dave had said he'd got tickets for it, I was like, what? Surely this is like a cover band or something, or like, I was like, no, actual Bob Dylan's Civic. It's just incredible, really. Incredible. But Stu, Springsteen and Americana, is he kind of the biggest rock artist in American history, do you think? Or is there arguments that there are kind of other people that kind of stand the test of time? I suppose you're looking at like your country music stars that probably wave and fly the flag a bit more passionately than Springsteen does.
I mean, Born in the USA, like Andy already mentioned, it kind of leads you that way. But what about Billy Joel? Long Island's finest Billy Joel. So, I mean, when I think of American artists, that's what. Well, if you're not doing like Eminem and all that kind of stuff, as a rock pop kind of genre to think of, then I would say Billy Joel straight away.
Do you have any advances on that,
Andy? For me, I would put him in that rarefied air. He's in the top probably 5 American solo artists, with Dolly Parton's got to be up there. Obviously, Taylor Swift is the most recent one who sort of cracked that proper A+ superstar list. Yeah, Bruce Springsteen is at that level as well, I think. I don't think there are many people who can touch him in terms of longevity as much as anything else. I mean, I think it was mid-70s, I think, was when he started. And the fact that he's still going now, which probably puts him just ahead of Billy Joel, as much as I hate to say it. But Billy Joel's career was 70-something to 89, 90. And then he called it a day, creating new music until fairly recently. Whereas Springsteen might take, 2 or 3 years between albums, but that's about it now. He's still producing music. And it's still listenable. It's not like it's not like he's stuck in his heyday. He's trying to evolve and do new stuff as well, which I think is just incredible for someone of his tenure.
Would you put him there with Elvis?
I think Elvis is number 1 by probably a margin. But it's a good question, because Elvis's death, does that push him ahead of everybody else because he's got that stellar period? He isn't doing, fucking Wolf Civic, is he? The Wednesday night now, do you know what I mean? Does that
That's
sort
a
of
really good point.
solidify it? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. I'll tell you what, though, if Elvis was alive now, I reckon he'd be standing up there with Buddy Hulk Hogan at the MAGA event. That concerns me. Those two dodgery old fucks up on stage. There we go. That's a great question, that is, Andy. I will circle back to something like that in a future MusiCast. So let's put a cork on that one. We're going from America all the way over to Sweden. Well, I say Sweden. The thing was filmed in the LA Forum, the venue. Right here, right now by Ghost. I went to it on opening night. It came out about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. It's a live music event. It was filmed over 2 nights. It's basically a live gig intertwined with kind of skits from backstage that add to the story that already exists as a YouTube mini-series. Nobody outside of Ghost fans really know or knew that it existed prior to it happening, I don't think. Yet it's reached 9th in the global box office top 10 over the last few days. It's had $5 million gate domestically, internationally, worldwide. Broke a record for a hard rock cinema event. So it's huge. It goes to show the kind of fandom that band has, even though they're massively not known to the world. They've won Grammys and all sorts, yet you'd be hard pressed for anybody on the street to know who they are, which is quite incredible, really. But my question to you two, and Andy, I'll ask you first, what band or artist do you think deserves a cinema release of a live event, and one that you think would, I suppose, get the punters in and also be a good show?
The first name that sprang to my mind, it's someone I've mentioned not long ago, Dolly Parton. I feel like she would do such a wonderful, it'd be the skits in between the songs would be so, they'd be almost Muppet-esque. Like if you used to watch the Muppet Show and you'd have the skits in between the songs and it was all fun and silly and light. And I feel that she's very much got that side to her, that she's really good at showing out and being very family friendly. Obviously very completely different to Right Here, Right Now, I imagine, in that this would be more of a comedy show rather than... Was it horror elements? Because I know that obviously they have a horror aesthetic almost, don't they, Ghost? I mean, I haven't seen it yet.
There's zero horror elements to it. It's very silly, very tongue-in-cheek. Essentially, the backstory, like you'd watch the thing anyway, but the backstory is this Popper is the fourth Popper. He's been on a few album cycles now, and his mother essentially is telling him it's time for him to hang up the mic and usher in the next Popper, and it's his difficulty in giving up the mantle that is the kind of arc that leads the story of this show. And then all sorts of chicanery happens, and then there's a big thing at the end, and it's very, very good, really enjoyable. The stage show, what I didn't realise, and this was how good it was, I had no idea it was filmed over 2 nights. Well, they edited it in such a way that I never clocked once, because they have close-ups to the crowd all the time, close-ups of the same people throughout the show. So you think, oh well, you don't miss that they're there because you're not paying attention to them. It wasn't until if I hadn't have told you, I don't think you'd have known that it was filmed over 2 nights. Apart from the fact it's a 2 and a bit hour show, which they don't really do. But yeah, fantastic. It's fantastic. But Stu, ask you, what band or artist deserves a cinema live event?
After you brought them into our orbit, 9 Inch Kills, I think that would be amazing. For the exact reason you just said, the backstage stuff, the theatrics, everything about that would work perfectly. And maybe a bit of discovery. I mean, my original thought was, if we could go back in time and do this for Live Aid, that would have been amazing. There's see some backstage stuff for that rather than a few seconds each video.
I mean, closed circuit technology existed then, didn't it? They had wrestling pay-per-view events, didn't they, and stuff? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they did, but it's just who filmed it. We got the Beatles thing from a couple of years ago. Where did that disappeared for decades and then just came back? So maybe the footage is there somewhere. Someone owns it in someone's loft or something.
No, but I mean, like live at the time, they could have done it in cinemas, couldn't they? Like, was the technology there then to have done it?
Well, Noel Edmonds was broadcasting from planes, and that was a big deal on telly, wasn't it? So that was in the 80s. So I'm guessing it might have been. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know. I mean, even Andy was not fully convinced then. So yeah. So, but I think what would be a good stage show, though, I mentioned him a few times, Maneskin. I think that would be really entertaining. Because that guy's got stage presence all over the place, and he's got a bit of personality as well. When you've seen him interviewed, and they seem like the kind of band in a similar kind of vein to Ghost, where they don't take themselves seriously at all. A bit like the Darkness used to before they had their issues. So something like that, I think it works really well.
Especially if, like Maneskin, they give you a few nose beers when you go into the state of the group as well, into the screening. Yeah, I think both of those are really good shouts. There's a fucking TikTok out there that we shared in the group chat with Dolly Parton, and it's this guy just going, "Look at her neck," and just said how fit she is. When she was like, I don't know, like 20 or something, I don't know, but yeah. Speaking of Dolly Parton, there's a really tenuous link here, because unless you've seen the Tenacious D live DVDs, you're not going to even know this exists. Well, they sing 9 to 5 on like a bonus thing. Again, this terribly dates this podcast, but what do you make of the Tenacious D thing that happened? If you're not aware of it out there, Tenacious D, you've basically cancelled, or Jack Black has cancelled their American tour. It's ceased all kind of creative music writing together, because on stage on Kyle Gass's birthday, he basically said about President Trump, "Don't miss it next time," to the crowd about shooting him. And Jack Black didn't do anything at the time, but has then come out since. Now, the cynic in me is Jack Black has done this to save face. It's not very rock and roll. It turns out you can kill the metal just to talk about shooting President Trump. But this seems like a bit of a shill thing to keep people happy from Jack Black, not an actual protect his bandmate by taking them out of the spotlight. What say you, Andy?
It's exactly that. I like Jack Black, I do. And there is this thing in America that the celebrities, they want to be involved in politics, but at the same time, they don't want to be really involved in it. Like, they want to say, vote for X, Y, or Z, but that's as far as they'll go. They won't go to the length of saying their policies are absolutely horrendous and they will ruin your lives. Like, they don't ever want to cross the Rubicon almost. Like, I don't know, because it could be a case of that, for example, in this one, a Trump supporter might still buy a Tenacious D album, but someone made a joke about killing him. That's beyond the pale, that is. So, yeah, I do. I feel very cynical about it, that it is just a case of, we're going to lay low, we're going to be quiet, we'll come back and things will be fine once it's all blown over. I don't feel like there's anything in it, because it was quite clearly a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no two ways about it. He wasn't really fucking condoning shooting another human being. It was a joke. That's all it was.
Yeah. And over to GB News. Stu, what do you make of this?
I thought it was just a bit pathetic, really. Of all the things that Jack Black has said over the years as well, not necessarily political, but it's a joke. Some of the lyrics in their songs are ridiculous. It's off the cuff remark. You don't even have to apologise. I don't get it. For what they are, is it Jack Black turning into a lovey? Does he? You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. The rock and roll thing to do is say, well, yeah, he wants to shoot Trump, I want to shoot Biden. There we are. Job done. Yeah, even if he doesn't feel like that, it seemed very bizarre. It almost seemed like, does he want an excuse to stop this now? Well, that's what my first thought was.
Because I think it's just to protect his film career more than anything.
Yeah.
I think a musician could probably get away with it. To be honest, that musicians can get away with whatever, because their fan bases do tend to be a little bit more malleable, whereas films are for everybody. So would a studio look at Jack Black, who's hanging around with someone who condones shooting someone, even though it was a joke? because people don't understand what comedy is a lot of the time nowadays, especially when it comes to stuff like that. So that's what all I think it is. He's just trying to preserve his Hollywood career.
Yeah, I think you're right. So those are the kind of news tidbits. Once you've listened to this, if you can let us know in the replies when we put this podcast out, it'd be great to hear your thoughts on the World Wide Web on those kind of topics and what you think of them. But we'll shoot through some questions, and then we do have Music Club album review as well, but something a little different. There's no screamy shout in this one, unfortunately. So my question number one, which wrestling game has the best soundtrack? Stu, I'll turn this over to you, as I'm sure I don't think you've probably ever played a wrestling game. In my head, you haven't.
Yeah, I had No Mercy on an N64.
Wow, the best wrestling game of all time.
I had Here Comes the Pain, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain. I had SmackDown versus Raw 2007, which is, I'm probably going to say yes, that one, because that was the only one that I think had licensed music. But I haven't played any of the 2K games now, so this is kind of null and void for me. But yeah, I loved a good wrestling game back in the day. I mean, when they had a PS2 set up in the Royal London once. I think he was right. Was you there, Andy?
Yeah,
he was. Well, yeah. And it was on the screen and everything. It was amazing. The little booth set up in the corner. I thought, this has never happened before. I think that might have been a Raw versus SmackDown one. But that was a very much a throwback. Yeah, I used to love them. I used to love them games. It's just there's no time anymore.
Well, I hear that, brother. Fair enough. So 2007 is your choice. What about you, Andy?
So I never had No Mercy. So I'm going for the best wrestling game that I owned, which was WWF WrestleMania 2000, also on the N64. Absolutely loved that game. I have since played No Mercy, and I think it probably edges it because it's a little bit smoother and everything. But yeah, I had WrestleMania 2000, and that's the high watermark for me. So you had the classics on there. You had like the Big Shows, the Gangrels, the whole Brood setup where they come up through the floor. That theme is an absolute belter as well. Triple H would have been coming out to My Time then, which I think was by the DX Band, which was such a good song. Like one of the best. The Rock sung on there, excellent. Stone Cold, Mr. Ass, Badass Billy Gunn. Just, yeah, that was the one for me. Excellent.
Yeah, there was some great ones. That Triple H's original theme was great as well before he did the whole Motorhead thing. Mine is a year earlier than Stu's, SmackDown versus Raw 2006, because, well, for a few reasons. You had the Dillinger Escape Plan on there, who were great. You had Static X, Start a War. Static X were great, like such a underappreciated band. I don't know if like you're aware of like Static X and Wayne Static like died, and then someone has taken his place, but dressed as a dead version of Wayne Static, like hair and all. So if you Google Wayne Static, right, and you'll see he has this huge head of hair. Like, he goes through like a can of like voluminous hairspray for every show. Huge, like that was his centerpiece, right? And
I'm thinking Kid and Play, but white and rock. Yeah.
If you like search those Static X now and you look at them like now, there's I don't know how to find the Static X new singer I'm looking for. It's just somebody in a way like a Wayne Static mask, big hair, but like dead face, and like there's a new look where they're like a robot.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like, part of me thinks, did he really die? And he's just, strange, very strange.
That's very bizarre. That looks like something out of The Hills Have Eyes or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
that's
Static X were on SmackDown vs. Raw 2006. And you also had the song that got me into Megadeth, Symphony of Destruction was on there as well. I don't know if this was the one that you could play online using that weird Ethernet cable thing at the back of a PS2. But I think all night this soundtrack was on in my house. I just lived for this game. Played it online. Like, I've played like World of War, I think. Not World of War. What's the what was the Medal of Honor game? Allied Assault, maybe. As like the first online game I ever played on a PC. Then I started to play that, and now this soundtrack makes my childhood, basically. Along with turning off Metal Gear Solid 2 because the game told you to, because the game was hacked by the kernel, because I was scared. But that's a story for a games cast, really, more than anything. Well, there we go. Some fantastic choices on those games. So, question number 2. Controversial. Whose cover is better than the original that you like the most? Andy, give me your choice.
Right, okay. So I like David Bowie, The Man Who Sold the World. I think it's a very, very good song. The best cover version of that song, most people are going to assume it's Nirvana, and it's not. It's Lulu's cover of it. It is fucking incredible. Because obviously it's a song that's got a bit of almost shoegazy element to it. It's like there's a bit of a dirge to it. So it fits with Nirvana of that period quite well. But when Lulu did it, she actually put like this bit of this pop happiness to it. And it's such a good cover version song that you just wouldn't expect from it. I don't like it when a cover version is just the same song again. And this wasn't. She actually made it her own and changed it. Like, you wouldn't necessarily think that this is a song that would be covered by Nirvana, and it was a Bowie song. So yeah, Lulu's cover of The Man Who Sold the World, I think, is a fantastic cover. It's one of my favourites.
I did not think that was where that was going. But like, Man Who Sold the World for me will always be like Metal Gear Solid 5 had a ridiculous amount of Bowie in it, and it was set around kind of language and songs and stuff was like integral to the story. It was all about kind of how wasn't the latest Bond film about something was travelled by language, or they were trying to like delete English from the world? Well, essentially that's what the plot of Metal Gear Solid 5 is. Yeah, sounds like some kind of Trumpian dream, but there we go. But yeah, great choice. That I instantly went for Nirvana. I thought that was where you were going with it, but I'll have to take a listen to that. What about you, Stu? What cover do you like more than the original?
I mean, I had the same way that Andy went. Something that was very different to the original was Valerie, Amy Winehouse's version of Valerie. But if you want like for like, I know people are going to... I mean, I love Slade. I grew up with Slade. But the Oasis version of Come On Feel the Noise, it live is superb.
Why can't you leave Tara alone for 1 week?
I stress live. I love Slade more than Tara does. I've met Dave Hill several times. I've got a Dave Hill t-shirt. I actually have a boy from Griffo's shop when he had it in it was opposite one of the terrible potential chippies / money laundering opportunities next to the sex shop in Broad Street in Wolverhampton. Yeah, a shop there called Stick 'em Up Punk, and he sold all these t-shirts and stuff like that.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, that was my mate Griffo owned there. Yeah, so I had a Dave Hill t-shirt from there. I love Slade, but I love Oasis more. And that song live, and I only heard it do it once at Finsbury, and it was fucking amazing. Just the way it is.
Follow-on question. If Slade and T-Rex didn't exist, do Oasis exist?
Yeah, but they'd probably be just exactly like the Beatles then.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Oasis would, but it would be a different band. Because Noel was still very much into his music and stuff as well. And I think Liam just wanted to be famous more so than be a singer. So they'd have just found their way to do it. But I think they really found their feet with that kind of stuff.
It would be just like Noel's High Flying Bird stuff. That's what it would be like.
Yeah, I mean, like in Spiral Carpets is where Noel got his break as a roadie for them. Yeah. So I feel like he'd probably have gone more down the proper, true indie-ness of it all than the more mainstream stuff that they did.
I don't know how I'm going to shoehorn this into any topic now, so I'm going left and right here. I haven't spoken to you guys for so long, like in the podcast format, that I've just got to get loads of things off my chest. I saw a tweet the other day about how rude the Sailor V lyrics by Bewitched were, and it just made me think of you, Stu. And they're absolute unadulterated filth.
I know they are.
I know. I want to know just what to do. Is it very big? Is there room for two? I've got a house with windows and doors. I'll show you mine. If you show me yours.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm getting
You don't have to quote which day.
I know I don't. Like, for what was like so bubblegum pop, how did they get away with it? Or is that the whole point? It was always meant to be like a nudge, wink, wink thing.
It was the 90s. Look what they're wearing in that video. It's all like, it's double denim. They're playing on the cute Irish thing, but unlike the Cause, they probably were fucking each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this reminds me of when I was at primary school and we had like a wet fucking lunchtime, so it was all in the library. And for some reason, our primary school had cable TV in the library. So we was all sat around watching The Box because that was the done thing back then. And Sweat by, oh God, who was it who did Sweat? Do you know the song I'm talking about?
Girl, I want
to make you sweat.
That's why I'm along. Yeah.
And
when you cry, I'm gonna
jerk seasoning on his chicken this evening.
Yeah. And when you cry, I'm gonna push it some more. And thinking back, the whole of our class was sat in front of the TV singing along to Sweat, which is clearly a song about anal sex. And like, I'm kind of horrified thinking back about it now. At the time, you just thought nothing of it because you're a child and it's 1994.
You do?
Like, they're playing disco. School disco that was on.
Because if you don't know, you don't know. I remember like an older kid in my bloody primary school asked me to ask one of the teachers, does he lick a dick a day? And I just didn't that, and I didn't know what that meant, and then I got in like trouble for it. I was horrified. I was mortified that like by the end of the day, I still didn't know what I'd done wrong, because I was in like year 2 or something like that. So, Mr. Swanick, if you're still out there and you're listening to this, I apologise unreservedly. So where were we? Oh, it was a question about covers. I swear it was this forum here where we said that all of Kate Bush, or you said, Andy, all of Kate Bush's best songs have been covered or by better people, or they like her best songs have been covered by better artists.
There are quite a few decent covers out there of Kate Bush. Like you've got Running Up That Hill was covered by Placebo. You've got Hounds of Love by the Future Heads, and you've got the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain who did a cover of Wuthering Heights, which is just a really fun, silly version of it, sung by this big, gruff northern bloke. So it fits perfectly in it. So yeah, there are some really good covers of Kate Bush songs out there.
So I don't know whether that's more of a compliment to her or not, or actually a bit of a kick in the snatch. But I went for, because me and Rory now, he's really getting into music. He doesn't know what's going on, obviously, but he just must hear the bass, like fucking Beethoven or something. And like he'll kick his legs when there's music on. Like most people like might have white noise for babies, but we'll just put music on and he'll kick his legs and that's fine. But I've really gotten into like Celtic or Celtic, I should say, Celtic rock, Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys, stuff like that. But the algorithm that is Spotify keeps getting me on to Take On Me by Real Big Fish. And it's unbelievable. It's up there as probably my favourite cover of all time, along with 99 Red Balloons by Goldfinger. And those two songs together fucking strap me in some two-tone shorts because I'm going ska. They are just brilliant. Like Take On Me though, it's the funness of that song that everyone knows, but then with like the ska-y elements and stuff like that I used to hate, in the same way that I really couldn't stand like Friends or My Chemical Romance. And now I love both of them. So you know, we all grow as people. But Take On Me, yeah, by Real Big Fish it's just sensational. Really, really fun. So
in the ska vein of covers then, Less Than Jake did a cover of I Think I Love You. I think it was Less Than Jake who did a cover of that. That's worth checking out. That's fun.
Yeah, there's definitely trumpets involved.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, one that might be up your street then, Stu. Real Big Fish and Ice Nine Kills have released a song together only this week, which is really, really fun. They've done Walking on Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves. it's got no right to be as good as it is, but it's really fun. Like, so give it a listen when we're done here, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Okay, final question then before the music club. The best song to feature a car or a car brand in its title, Stu?
Can I have Jeepster by T-Rex?
You may.
Okay.
Talk me through though. Why Jeepster?
Because it's class, and because the I got into a proper, ironically enough, I got into a proper T-Rex listing spree over the last few days after watching a certain film last week. We can say long legs because it's in the fucking opening scene, eh? So
Yeah,
it's
it's not a spoil.
it's the title card of the film. And I thought, oh yeah, I ain't listened to T-Rex for ages, and I just started listening to it again. I thought, I love T-Rex. Again, it was my dad's stuff of T-Rex and Thin Lizzy and Slade and all the lads, all that kind of stuff. That kind of 70s, 80s, early 80s was his stuff, which he had on vinyl. I don't even know where it is now. It probably got destroyed somewhere along the line, which I kind of wish I was like Andy sometimes. I had a turntable still, and this stuff still existed. But yeah, I love T-Rex. I mean, the other one was Mustang Sally, but that's just for karaoke purposes. But yeah, Jeepster by T-Rex is my answer.
I need to hear Stu singing Mustang Sally now.
You really know.
It's going to be one of two ways. It's either going to do like a slightly racist version of like Mustang Sally, or he's going to do the version of Barry from EastEnders on Extras, where he just shouts in a Ricky Gervais. That's the only two versions I think Stu can do that song at karaoke. Incredible. What about you, Andy?
So all week since you asked this question, I've had Beanie Man, Who Am I, stuck in my head. The Sim Simmer, Who Got the Keys to My Bimmer. But obviously it's not that one, because that's not in the title. So the one I've gone for is, this is probably a really obvious one, but Little Red Corvette, Prince. So this was Prince's breakthrough song. This is the first song that I think cracked the US top 10 for him. He had a couple of tracks before that, but this was the one that made the whole world realise who the purple one really was. And it sort of encapsulates Prince kind of perfectly as well, because there's a myth about, like, you know, the story about how Macca wrote Yesterday in a dream. Well, this one is that he wrote this song after falling asleep in one of his bandmates' Little Red Corvette. But then years later, it turns out that the bandmate was interviewed and she said it wasn't a red Corvette, it's a pink Mercury. And he wasn't asleep. He was having sex with one of our bandmates on the back seat. Yes. That's where he got the idea. And this song is all about casual sex. But obviously it's not overtly about it. And it just feels like that's the perfect Prince song. So yeah, for me, Little Red Corvette.
Okay. Much like the obvious answer, I was going to go for Fast Car by Tracy Chapman, which is obviously a great song, a little like miserable, but that's by the by. But I wanted to go for a song that I actually listened to, and I'm going for the last. Well, I wanted to go initially for Canyonero from The Simpsons, because it's unbelievable, Canyonero. Ooh, ooh. But
31, I still know every word to this.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm going for the last great Kings of Leon song, Camaro. Off their like 50% hit rate album, Sign of the Times, I think it was. You had Camaro, which was still that like southern drawl, almost not understand what they're saying, rock and roll sleaze that they were like kind of famous for the first two albums. And yeah, Camaro on that song was great. It was all of that, like, encompassed what I enjoyed about Kings of Leon originally before they kind of fell off into Coldplay stardom almost. But yeah, great song, decent album. It got some like stellar tracks on there, but then you can smell the Radio 2 creeping on that album. Like,
it's the first album. It's the first album they had with a number one single on there, Encore. I think it was their first number one. And yeah, that was the album where them and I started to go in separate directions. Because yeah, like Chimera was on the longer list of good tracks, but yeah, the rest of that album, you can call it 50% hits, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so those are the questions out of the way. So we're going to go on to Music Club. So this episode, I challenged the gentleman to listen to an album by English four-piece indie folk rock band from London, Larrikin Love. Their album, The Freedom Spark, from 2006, really short, punchy album, like 34 minutes long. They had a song, Happy as Annie, which, if you ever watched MTV2 or Kerrang, you will know. I guarantee you there's somewhere in your subconscious, in the back of your head, that you know it. It's their only album, as the band split up pretty much shortly after its release. For those that haven't heard of them, and I can't imagine there's too many that have, they're kind of a mix of punk, reggae, bluegrass, calypso, Irish rock, and like kind of were very whimsical lyrics that kind of were a bit abstract and some slight political leanings, but nothing too heavy. There's a lot of talk, like sexuality is mentioned quite a bit throughout the album as well. But what was your initial take on this, Stu? I think you said you listened to it on the way to work, so I'm hoping you had a little bit of a spring in your step when you heard this album, because it is like, it doesn't get you too down, I wouldn't have thought.
No, it didn't get me down. It's the fact that I listened to it in its entirety on the way to work as well. So it must be about 35-40 minutes long. Yeah, and being spotted as well by a girl who thought I was going running because I had a fluorescent orange t-shirt on, and I was checking my watch. I don't know where he was, what bushes he was hiding in, but I was checking the watch to see which track it was and what the track name. So I listened to it on the way to work, then I listened just to let it wash over me. And then I'll listen more thoroughly on the way back, and then one more time afterwards. The start of it, track one's just an instrumental thing, it doesn't really count.
Yep.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. The first track 2 to 6, I kind of enjoyed. I thought it got progressively worse as he went on, but you got 6 Queens. I'll give them a ranks out of 10. 6 Queens, I'll give an 8. Really enjoyed that. Edward, 7. Downing Street, I thought, why don't you just fuck off then if you don't like it here? But I couldn't believe how old this album was, how pertinent the lyrics were. Look, yeah, nothing's changed. It's exactly the same. And the Happy as Annie that you mentioned, I thought when it started, I thought, this is the farm level from Mario Kart 8. You go and play that later with the barn tunes, and then meet me at the getaway car, the 80s reggae ska. After that, it kind of dropped off for me. But the first ones, I really enjoyed them. I thought, yeah, I was kind of skipping down the street. I was kind of enjoying myself, and then it just got a bit like on Sussex Downs was like proper Sunday chill out shit. And I thought, nah, man, it's safe for me. But funny enough, by the end of it, it went straight into the Libertines. Can't Stand Me Now. I thought, well, there we are. This is what you said it was going to be.
Yeah.
YouTube Music came up trumps and cheered me up again.
Yes, that's pretty spot on, to be fair. Andy, what was your experience with this album?
It was a tough experience, I've got to be honest. I really didn't get on with this album at all. I was trying to think, is it because I'm me now would, what was this, 2006 was it?
Yeah.
This was released. Would 23-year-old me like this? And I don't know if I would have done, because this feels very much like, once we hit the mid-2000s, Indie Landfill was well into its swing with The View, The Enemy, The Pigeon Detectives, The Cortinas, Hard Fight. And this was just another of these bands who wanted to be the Libertines and just didn't have the style or the substance to pull it off. I found it quite grating after a while. There was... I'm just going to pull up the song list, sorry. So 6 Queens, which is the first songs, it was fine. I thought, I recognise this. Okay, fine. I know where I am in this world. And then Ed Wood kicked in. I'm like, hang on, I've just listened to this song, haven't I? And it said, no, this is actually the next. And then Downing Street Kingling was more of the same. And it never evolved. I listened to it all the way through first time. And then I've tried twice after, and I didn't get past At the Feet of Ray. Because I felt it was such pretentious bullshit at that point. I was so annoyed. I was like, no, this isn't for me. It was incessant. And for an album that is 33 minutes and 46 seconds long, it was a struggle to get through, I found. It was everything I sort of hate about that period of music, I think. The style over substance. I didn't like it.
I've got At the Feet of Ray, 5 out of 10, brackets, Irish folk, bollocks, bored now.
That song is really shit, to be fair, and it kind of takes you out of any kind of joy that any of the album that preceded it, any goodwill that you did have. That song does take away because it is really boring as sin.
The other one after it, straight after it as well, to Well Loved Does Furnish Life. That could be spelling myself, I don't know, but it's like the verses. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every fucking sentence is exactly the same. That's the beat of every sentence. Is a da 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 da. Is it broken? What's wrong with it? But then the chorus was really good. I thought, oh no! But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the stuff that they used to put over like League 2 highlights on Soccer AM.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah.
Does the Jamie T cameo in that song not do anything for you, Stu? I don't recognise he was there.
No, this is where I would have been. I mean, Jamie T can go on like Solo Geddes spot. He can go and wank himself.
Oh my god! I thought the dagger in the heart about the pigeon detective thing that was going to kill me off. And it turned out it was that. Oh my! That's one of the worst takes. That's the worst take since I had Peter Supremo a few weeks ago that gave me the shit. Because that is a terrible, terrible take.
I've never understood the Jamie T thing. I tried to like him. I've tried to get him on board with you and Dan, getting all excited about it all. It just doesn't work for me.
That is sham. I mean, it's all subjective opinions, but that is not a good one. I can't deal with that. Well, you were saying something, Andy. Sorry.
Yeah, how did you come to find this album? Because it doesn't feel very Mac Guy at all. And I know you like some indie, but this doesn't feel even remotely close to even that. But
this was a classic case of getting a free HMV CD, like a Rock Sound magazine CD, but I've got in my head this was HMV, and Happy as Annie was on it, and then I saw it on MTV or Kerrang, and then got the album. And rifling through old CDs at my mum's house was how I came across it for this. And I was keen to kind of see how you guys got on. So, for the exact reasons that you said, Andy, I think I've got a fondness to it because the 15, 16-year-old me had it. Listening to it now, I can pick the flaws in it with my eyes closed. But there is a nostalgia element to it that I quite like. Because at the time, right, so put it this way. Like, I think the same day I got that CD, I bought 3 CDs from HMV. And for this to be something that came out of that, I bought God Hates Us All by Slayer, I bought Supercharger by Machine Head, and I bought Iowa by Slipknot. So for this to kind of make its way out of there, something happened in my subconscious. So, yeah, I mean, I like it, but it's not something that is on regular rotation for me. Kind of falls into, I know it's completely different genres, but the Klaxons for me fall into this bracket. Bands that at the time felt revolutionary, but when you listen to it now, it's not that great at all. I used to love the Klaxons. Same with Hadouken as well. So yeah, I might not ever listen to Hadouken again, just in case I really hate it and it would really upset me.
You don't want to. I just had a thought. Your experience with this very much reminds me of. I mean, looking at it, it makes sense. Then 2003, So Much for the City by The Thrills. And he,
Oh, God, yeah, I remember. I said that.
yeah, everyone fucking had it. It's like Talk on Borders.
He's
Big, yeah,
Big
big.
Sur. That's the one, isn't it? Yeah.
Santa Cruz, you know that. Yeah, 2 songs on there. All right. One Horse Town as well.
It was twee bollocks, though, wasn't it? That was the problem with that album. It didn't have any fucking meat to it. That was the problem.
No, but
Yeah, I remember.
I loved that at the time. And now there's no way on earth I'd listen to that entire album. Not a chance.
I wonder how Larrikin Love would have done if they'd have been around when Mumford & Son lifted up the folk shite. Because Mumford & Son can get in the bin and hate them.
Yeah.
It is the precursor to that kind of... I don't really want to call it indie folk, but I suppose that's sort of what it is.
Hippie shit.
So my question to you, Andy, then, because it is pretentious, I've no doubt about that. How did you get on with the Kooks? Because that first album by the Kooks, Inside In, Inside Out, is it what it was called?
I can't even remember now.
That to me goes down in kind of Brit indie history as one of those iconic albums that like started a movement. And the Kooks were huge for 5 minutes, like then just fell off the face of the earth. But that album was great, I think.
That's one of the people who coined the term. I preferred it when they were unsigned. That was the Kooks for me. I remember seeing them supporting the Subways. Do you remember? Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. And they were a decent band there. They're still going, apparently, and they do like hard rock. They're massive in Germany. But that's an aside.
Rock and Roll Queen, wasn't it? That was Subway.
Yeah, Rock and Roll Queen was the other one that did. And the Kooks were supporting there. And I remember Sofa Song was this really good, fun, bubbly song. And then Naive hit. And I feel that they were the first band of the Indie Landfill for me.
To be fair, I remember hearing Naive in Oceana. So just kind of saying it.
Yeah, it had crossed over from Blast Off to being in, like you say, Oceana and your clubs with the, I don't want to say chaps because that's a horrible word, but, you know,
you were definitely more likely to get fingered in Oceana than you were in Blast Off, put it that way.
Yeah.
But listening to Ooh La more than anything else.
Exactly. There's been a lot of filth on this episode. Maybe it's the sunshine, I don't know.
It started with the sex ed, so yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. It's par for the course, I guess. Okay. That is MusiCast done and dusted for another episode. Really hope you've enjoyed listening to it. If there's any albums that you'd like for Album Club that, maybe smaller ones that we won't have heard so you can get kind of a proper, unbiased view on it, then that'll be great. Let us know in the comments. At Cage Fighting Pod on the socials. Tell a friend, tell a lover, tell anybody, tell your next door neighbour about us and kind of get some of the some new listeners in. That would be fantastic. We will love you forever. But for this evening, Stu, if you'd like to say goodbye.
I mean, if you want them, well, not just Matt, but Andy as well, even though they love Eurovision, if you want them to suffer, and we do a book club on the Party album by the Venga Boys, please say yes. And please comment, because it needs to be done. And Andy will enjoy it more than he admits. We all know this. Goodbye.
Andy, what's your rebuttal answer?
Honestly, when he was winding up, I thought he was going to say fucking Steps, which was bad enough. But to go for the Venga Boys is even worse, isn't it? Dear me.
I've got my own albums.
I'm sure you have.
Right now. I'm sorry, yeah. I might delete my Spotify just so I don't have to spot myself. But it's goodbye for me also. And remember to party on, dudes.